Okay, guys, welcome to ConvoCourses. My name is Bruce, and this is a podcast where I talk about the cybersecurity field from the perspective of somebody who is in the cybersecurity field, how to get in this field, what you need to do. That's my main focus, but I do talk about risk management framework, how to do it. I also talk about how to fix your resume to get in this field, how to make up to six figures. If you're interested in any of this stuff that I talk about, go to ConvoCourses.com, check it out. I've got tons of courses, lots of free stuff, downloadables, all you name it. So go ahead and check it out. We're updating like every couple months. I'll update certain courses that we already have out there. Now, what you're looking at here on the screen, if you happen to be watching me on YouTube, is somebody's resume. They sent me this resume and they asked me to take a look at it because they are trying to transfer from one field to another. They're trying to switch career paths, and so that's my main focus today is going to be switching career paths. I get a lot of questions about it because IT and cybersecurity is blowing up like crazy, and many other fields are kind of suffering. So a lot of people are trying to get into this field, and this field pays really well. Okay, let's get into this. They sent me their resume, and this is not their real name, of course. This is not their real contact information, but they wanted to know if it looked good. They sent it to a professional resume service and wanted to know if they had all of the good stuff in there. And I could tell you, this is something that you can do yourself. You don't have to go to a professional resume service. It's better for you to just learn to do this yourself, so you can you can always send it to them, to a professional service, and have them, if you're willing to pay for all that stuff. But you still need to know the field well enough to put your own spin on it, to put your own to polish whatever they're going to give you, right? So I would highly recommend taking my course. I have a course on here, and actually a portion of it is free. You can actually log into ConvoCourses.com, get in there for free, and take part of my course where I talk about resume building. Let me just show you what I'm talking about here. ConvoCourses. You go to ConvoCourses.com, and you go to resume marketing for your cybersecurity, because the name of the game is really marketing, right? And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Some portion of this is actually free for you to check out before you buy, kind of thing. And I've got another one where it's breaking down how to write the resume, not just marketing, but how to actually write it, how to find keywords, what kinds of things are they looking for when they're looking for your resume. Those are the kinds of things I talk about in there. So just go ahead and check it out. Now this right here, I'm going to give you some free knowledge to figure this out. Now I can see that they put all the right keywords in here, and that's fine. But what you want to do, if I'm a corporation, I'm looking for an IT professional, what I'm really looking for is somebody who has experience in these things that they're talking about. They're saying that these are the core competencies. I want to see that you've done these, and I want to know how you've implemented them in an environment. That's really what I want to see. So this is fine to put something like this in here just for the sake of getting keywords or whatever. And yeah, and some of this is like kind of off. I can tell it kind of copy and pasted it from somewhere, but there are keywords in here, so I don't know. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna go ahead and edit this how I would do it. So first of all, I think it's okay to have objectives. That's cool. Certifications. That's cool. If you have a degree, you probably want to put it up here as well. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all this core competency stuff and I'm gonna put it elsewhere, because the reason why I'm moving this stuff is because I don't see a use for it up top in a resume. If I'm looking at a resume, I want hard-hitting stuff that's going to get straight to the point, right? And this stuff, I'm going to put it at the bottom. Core competencies at the bottom. I want to see, like, what did you do? Hard-hitting things would be your education. Now, he's got education in here that is relevant to our field. I would put this would be better on top, to be honest with you. He's got security plus. Oh, security plus training. Okay. 14 hours training. Okay, so this is also stuff I would put at the bottom. Degree, I don't see any degrees here in IT. IT degrees are very highly sought after. Okay, I'm gonna take a chance, and I'll put this over here right above core competencies. That's what I would do. And then I'm gonna go up here, and okay, let's get rid of this page right here. The reason why I'm doing this, because you want to put your hard-hitting stuff as close to the top as you want to get straight to the point. You got to remember, these people who are reviewing your resumes, they're probably seeing hundreds of resumes, and you have to just get to the point. You got to get to the point. Okay, experience. Let's just say experience. That's what we're gonna do. Just right to the point. Driver field technician. All right. They said processes and fulfills client requests. Okay. So this is very vague. Very, very vague. We want to know, how is it relevant to what we do in the IT field. So I'm going to put this is something for them. I'm just going to put some notes in here. What I'm putting is, how does this relate to IT? Right. So I would put something like, what I'm expecting to see when they say processes and fulfills client requests and resolves complaints. I'm expecting to see something like troubleshoot, such as, like, this is just an example, such as help desk, let's say computer support tickets, troubleshooting, networking issues in the field. So that this is telling them, the employer, hey, this person has experience troubleshooting in IT. And I'm just going to put the example here. You want to put specific examples of what you did. And then another thing you could do is troubleshooting what kinds of systems. You know, what kinds of systems. You might want to put Linux systems, or Linux-based, let's see how we could slip that in there. Such as computer support tickets. Let's say, instead of computer support, let's say Linux, let's be more specific. Red Hat Linux support tickets. We can do like this: computer support, and then put Red Hat Linux in parentheses. We just want to be specific. Like, we want them to know, here's what I've done. Here is my experience. So you can't just say, and in the next bullet, listen to this: handles and processes client boxes, containers, and files. Like, you got to be more specific. Even if I was looking to hire this person in transportation, I'd want to know more details, like what kind of client boxes, what kind of containers is it sensitive info, is it sensitive cargo, is it, like, you want to be specific when you're talking about this kind of stuff. Manages electronic records, too vague. An example might be, let me just see if I can come up with a quick example. Manages electronic records. I don't even know, like, that's so vague. I don't even know what to say about this. But one thing that cybersecurity people do is, you know, that sounds similar to this, is ensures they make sure that audit logs are turned on and monitor audit logs. That's a cybersecurity thing that you might do. So what you could say, instead of manages electronic records, you could say ensures system, let's say ensures audit logs are enabled on Red Hat, Linux, and Microsoft systems. So that's one thing you could say. Red Hat. Okay, I spelled that wrong. Red Hat Linux. So you see how I'm being specific here? How I'm being like really getting in the weeds on this one. This is what I did. We ensured audit logs are enabled on Red Hat and Microsoft systems. And then what we did was provided continuous monitoring on critical, on mission essential systems. So this is something that you do as a cybersecurity professional. It's a normal thing you do. So far this is not looking good for whoever wrote. If he took this to a professional service, I would expect way better information than this from somebody I paid. Yeah. So this is why it's very important to learn exactly how to do this yourself and what the employers want, so that you can always know, what to put in there, no matter what, no matter what other jobs you've had, things like that. And then I'm just going to give a note here for him. I'm just saying, more specific and related to IT. This is just an example. There you go. That's what I would do if I was him. What else can we say here? Destroys confidential and secure documentation, electronic files according to procedure, retrieves documents from secure safe. Okay, so this is actually a security thing that you could make this sound, because this is actually something you do as a security person, where you have to just make sure you got to safely dispose of sensitive information, and that's or end of life equipment. You have to safely dispose of it. So you probably just want to put it in words that are more in line with an IT professional. So I would definitely change all of this stuff, and I'm trying to look for more stuff, and I will take my time and go through this resume just to help this person out. But I think that for the sake of this video, for the sake of this podcast, I'm going to move on. But I'm looking at it, and it's just not a lot of IT work. And what I would do if I was this person is they're shooting for the moon here. They're saying they want to be an information system security officer, but they don't have any experience at all. Very, very little experience in IT. If I was them, I would go for a computer, not to say that, it's okay to shoot for the moon and stuff, but realistically, without a degree, and I'm not saying, unless I'm missing something, without a degree, it's going to be really hard to get this kind of position, unless you have maybe one of the things you could probably get is a security clearance, because they're really willing to overlook a lot of things when you have a security clearance, so that might be helpful. What I would do if I was this person is, if they are already working in a organization that has an IT department, I would apply for the IT department. ISO, information system security officer work, it requires that you have some experience or a bachelor's degree or some kind of background in IT or security, something like that. This person, if you have zero actual hands-on experience with IT, or very, very, very little, or just from your house, you probably want to start off with like a help desk job or a computer support job, or something like that, where you're actually hands-on with troubleshooting first, then build up from there. That's what I would do, and I'm gonna go through this resume on my own time here. I had some other questions that I want to address, and they're related to, somebody asked me, tools. What are the tools for being an ISO? They said specifically, I registered for your course on ConvoCourses, and they said, I would like to know what IT tools or programs I need to know before applying for an information system security job. So it really depends on the actual position. So what you could do to find out what actual jobs you need is if you go to Indeed.com. Indeed.com is good. Dice.com is good. Career Builder, CareerJet, LinkedIn, all of those are great places to start and do research on jobs. So if you go to, you want to type your area wherever it is. Let's say if it was remote. I'm on Indeed.com right now, and it says what job title, what company you want to work for. I'm going to go ISO, Information System Security Officer. And the very first job, it says it's a remote position with Kairos. It's an Information System Security Engineer job. And what I'm doing is looking at this job that opened. They're urgently hiring, and opened about a day ago. And they're saying experience. This is where they're going to tell you what they want you to have. What kind of programming experience, what kind of tools you need to know. Like right away, they're explaining that they want experience with implementing computer and network security mechanisms, right? They want, and this is just one job, by the way. This is just one position. Some won't, this might be completely different from this. They're looking for you to be able to have analysis skills, procedure, testing, generation, test execution for 4 years is required. They're saying that they want you to have validation and testing tools experience. That's like Nessus. They're specifically mentioning Nessus here. 4 years required. They're looking for computer security in securing networks. And then EMAS, specifically. EMAS is a tool that allows you to document the risk management framework process. Another tool that's similar to this would be Archer. And another one would be, sometimes organizations have homegrown products. It's just a governance and risk management tool that collects data. Like you can upload scan results. You can upload artifacts like security assessment results. You can upload, like, say, a system security plan. You can upload, it'll have like all the security controls for the system. It'll have the description of the system, all the controls of the system, and then it'll track those controls. That's one of the things that EMAS will do. So that's a tool that large organizations in the Department of Defense uses. But let me just give you, I just want to kind of give you, to fully answer this question, I want to give you an example of other kinds of things that they might be looking for. Let's look for, and this, okay, here's one. This is an ISO job in Washington, D.C. It's remote, and they are looking for, let's go to job description. They are looking for tools and and programs that they want you to know. And these guys aren't going into any kind of specific. Okay, assess vulnerabilities to ascertain if additional safeguards are needed to ensure systems are patched. And so they're telling you what they need, but they're not going into any tools. But I can tell you, if you are going to be assessing vulnerabilities, you need to know, typically, if you knew Nessus, or if you knew Qualys, or if you knew the results, really not necessarily how to scan. A lot of times you just need to know like how to read the results. So if you have, say, experience like 2 years with Retina scanner or Nessus, typically if you have some experience with this scanner, you can read the results of these other scanners, because you'll know that it'll have a vulnerability ID. You'll know that it has it's going to refer to a CVE, or a common vulnerability. I can't remember what the E is. a CVE code, which is like a vulnerability code that tracks different vulnerabilities across Microsoft vendors, Oracle vendors, any kind of vulnerability. It's like a CV. It's a code that tracks all kinds of vulnerabilities. So it will have the typical scanners will be linked to a CVE code. It'll have a vulnerability ID. It'll have the results of how it figured out that vulnerability. It'll have what you can do, the solution to fix that vulnerability. It'll have what consequences sometimes of if you don't fix it. Here's what could happen. You could get exploited like this or that. So you having that skill is much more valuable than just knowing how to use Nessus or how to use just Qualys. You having the skills to actually interpret those results is very, very, very powerful. It's going to help you out in any job. And this one's not mentioning any. I'm kind of scanning through this. It doesn't mention any specific tool, but they are mentioning a couple of different skill sets. Promote information security awareness by providing training. These guys want you to train. See, that's a skill set. They want you to be able to train. Ensure all systems are operated and maintained and disposed of in accordance with documented security policies and procedures, including but not limited to assessment, authorization. So this is right here. This is risk management framework. They want you to know risk management framework. Develop and maintain documents such as a system security plan, privacy impact assessment, configuration management plan. So to answer the question, let's just go back to the question here so I can stay focused. Their question was, what IT tools or programs do I need before applying for an information system security job? It depends on the job, but I can tell you there's a few that they kind of expect you to know. Like there's a couple of skill sets that most information system security officers will know, and that's vulnerabilities. How do you interpret a vulnerability? And then knowing how this vulnerability will impact my organization. That's really like a whole suite of different skills to know how to do that. Because what vulnerability are we talking about? Are we talking about a Windows vulnerability? Is it an Oracle vulnerability dealing with databases? Is it a Java vulnerability? What kind of vulnerability? And is it affecting the network? Is it on the inside of the network? Is it on the internal network? Is it on the DMZ? Is it in the outside, the external network? Where is it? So that's really skill based. Like you have to have experience having seen what risks this vulnerability will have on this particular organization. As far as like tools that I could point out to you, a scanner, like if you've had any kind of experience with a vulnerability scanner and the results, like a Nessus scanner, a Qualys, what other ones do you have? Reddit scanners. There's hundreds of different scanners out there. The more that you're familiar with them, the better. Really, the results and what they can do for you is the most important things. Because I know plenty of information system security officers never touched a scanner before, but I guarantee you they've seen the results of a scanner before. Other tools will be like EMAS. One of them mentioned EMAS, but not EMAS. I've never even touched EMAS before, but I'm so familiar with those kinds of tools that I guarantee if you gave me EMAS, I would know how to use it because they all have the same features. They have very similar features. I've used Archer before. I've used internally developed systems before. We used to use this one called EIDTR. They all do the same thing. They collect information for the risk management framework process. Another one's called Exacta. So those are some of the tools that ISOs use. I can tell you this. One tool that you really need to know, hands down, is spreadsheets. Excel spreadsheets. That's a big one. Word, of course. But Excel spreadsheets are, you really need to know that. And most people do know how to have a basic knowledge of how to use them. But most organizations, no, all organizations that I've worked with who have an ISO use Excel spreadsheets extensively. All right, so I hope that answers your question. Depends on the job to know what specific tools, but everybody needs to have a certain skill set related to what vulnerabilities impact what part of the organization. You need to be able to do that. Okay, so here's another question that I got, and somebody was wondering if I could offer them an advice on pivoting to a cybersecurity role in the private sector. Now, they're trying to get into the private sector, or I was wondering if you could offer some advice from pivoting to a cybersecurity role in the private sector. Some of my background, they said that they have 4 years of IT experience outside of the private sector and 2 years of experience in the private sector. And they're trying to get into this private sector. So I assume that they're a DoD contractor. Okay. Let me see. The certifications, they have a Security Plus, a CYSA. They have a bachelor's degree. Currently working on a master's degree. It says currently I work as a DoD contractor as a system administrator. I love the technical background of it, but my passion background is cybersecurity. I'm 24 years old and I am new to the private sector. I am appreciative of my current role in SCIF, which is it's classified work with the Department of Defense, more than likely. I look at working with my craft. Okay, I would like to pivot to an ISO role, but I do not have direct experience. This is my issue when I'm applying for cybersecurity jobs out of college. I realized that there is no entry-level cybersecurity jobs due to the experience required. How can I pivot to an ISO cybersecurity role with no direct experience? A lot of roles want you to be proficient in tools such as Nessus, EMAS, Exacta, frameworks such as CNSS and NIST series. I know that the ISO role is the compliance side of the cybersecurity. I like the auditing compliance side of security, but I would miss the technical side. Okay, I'm looking up I was looking up what an ISO and a ISSE does. That's an information system security engineer does, and it seems like it's the perfect combination of everything. Grateful for your content, and then it's hard finding information about DoD private sector cybersecurity jobs outside the community. All right, hopefully I understand what he's saying. I'm a little confused on whether they're trying to be, because they keep saying ISO, but they want to be in the private sector. A lot of ISO jobs are in the public sector. But I can give you my 2 cents, because I've done an ISO work outside of the Department of outside of the federal agencies, and I've done it inside the federal agencies. So public and private sector, that's what they mean. Public sector meaning you work in the government somewhere. Like you work for NASA, you work for the CIA, you work for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Private means like Google, Facebook, or a company who does contracts with the FBI or the CIA or whatever, but they also do B2B with Google or Facebook or whoever. I've done both of those fields, so I can really speak to both of these. So what I'll do is, to answer this question, is start off by saying, if this person is if you're watching this, if you are a system administrator, you said I work for a DoD contractor as a system administrator, that's awesome, because that means that you have direct Windows Server 2000 experience, direct Linux server experience. You know that you have a practical understanding of how to actually secure information systems or computers, servers, things like that. You have practical understandings of networking, how this system networks, what are the services that are running on it, how could somebody exploit those services. You have a practical understanding of that. So right away, you are heads and shoulders above many people who are in the ISO field, who are already ISOs, and you have experience over people who have zero experience, goose egg, so you're starting with something I could work with. All right. So what you want to do, it's really going to come down to your resume. So in the very beginning of this, I talked about, in my courses, I'm teaching you exactly what to put on your resume, how to find that information yourself, where to market yourself. Those are all the stuff that I talk about in ConvoCourses. But right now, I'm going to give you some free information. How would I go about doing this? Well, number one, you want to build out your resume and highlight all the areas, all the things you've done from a security perspective. Like if you worked on a server before as a system administrator, you've created accounts, you've deleted accounts, you've maintained it, you've taken people's accounts away. All of this is what we call access controls. So you don't put that on your resume. You have done work with access, implementing and securing access control measures on Windows Server 2016, right? So those are the kinds of things you want to say in your resume. You want to focus on all security things that you've done. If you've ever turned on auditing on a system, if you've ever monitored the event logs on your system, if you've ever worked directly with the security policy people, you want to put that on your resume. If you've ever removed malware, Trojans off of a system, if you've ever turned on the antivirus on a system or updated the signatures on antivirus, if you've turned on the host-based intrusion protection system on a Windows system, if you've ever scanned a Windows system and can understand the results, those are the kinds of things you want to put on your resume. So you can actually bill yourself on there as a cybersecurity person. Like you've done cybersecurity before, you just need to put in there that you've done cybersecurity. Now, what a lot of system administrators tend to do is they're very heavy on the technical, how they implemented, what they installed, patches they've put in, things like that, which is fine. You can actually leave all that in, but you want to focus on the patching, because patching is a security thing. You want to focus on removal of vulnerabilities on your system. Like you had a scan and it's showing that you guys didn't lock down the passwords well enough. You guys have 6-character passwords with no complexity in there, but you went in there and you uploaded those things. Updated those things to have a 12-character password or multi-factor authentication. Those are the kinds of things that you want, that people who are in my field in cybersecurity want to see. We want to see that you've implemented cyber. Not only do you understand it, but you've implemented multi-factor authentication. Not only do you understand auditing, but you've implemented auditing on this or that system. If you've ever put a firewall in place, if you've ever worked with the firewall people, that's the kind of stuff you want to put in there. So, number one, on your resume, highlight all the security features that you've done. Number one. Number two, once you've done that, make sure lots of keywords in there. Now, what do I mean by keywords? If you want to find keywords, go to LinkedIn.com. Go to Indeed.com, go to CareerJet, wherever, right? Wherever you can find resumes, really. Resumes and job descriptions. Those will have tons and tons and tons of keywords. Type in Information System Security Officer or ISO. Look at the descriptions. Look at the other people's resumes. Look for keywords. You'll see a pattern. You'll see a pattern of repeated words that they're using over and over again those are the keywords you want to have in your resume, right? So, for example, they might say, in system administrator might say, I put a user, I made sure I created user accounts, right? That's fine, but the from a security perspective, what we would say is something like access control, or because access control and role-based users is our language, because we're always worried about what rights does this user have. You know, you want to stick with access control lists. What did you do to modify, change, or fix the security features of that user? You want to focus on the security features of the user, not necessarily that you put users in there. If you've installed a system, that's great. You know, you would say as a system administrator, I installed this system. But we want to see what did you do to secure that system that's in place? That's what you got to focus on. So when you're looking at those keywords, you'll notice that they use different words that talk about the privileges, the roles, the security features of that system. And so get those keywords in there. Once you have your keywords in there, once you've highlighted all security features, you want to put your resume everywhere. You want to put your resume everywhere. Now, if you're willing to move to another state, then sky's the limit. You're gonna get a job for sure. You want to put your resume on LinkedIn, at the very bare minimum, Monster.com, LinkedIn, Dice.com as a bare minimum. In my course, I go into tons of all kinds of tips and tricks for each one, and where I put all my resume everywhere. And the reason, and that's the reason I'm continuously, even now during COVID-19, I'm still getting job offers all the time, weekly. That can be you if you follow what I just said. I just basically gave you everything that I do and from a high level to get jobs constantly, get constantly offered jobs. And I think that that's going to be it for this podcast. I tried to do this live, but I'm having some real issues with my actual network is not good enough to do live. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to continue to do live. It's just kind of weird what's going on with my connectivity. I kind of live out in the middle of nowhere. So if you're used to actually joining me on the lives and everything and asking me live questions, I'm gonna have to work on it. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'll keep looking at it. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Appreciate everybody. I answer as many questions as I can every week, and I will be back here next week. Talk to you guys later.